and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Aalbers, and today I have Deborah Ann Baker with me. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
I'm really excited about our conversation today. And as per usual, I'm going to set an intention for our podcast today. And I really love what you said before we hit record and how I heard what you said in an intention that we could set collectively is to facilitate soul-led, soul-driven life in a world that sometimes can feel really chaotic, especially when we get outside of that. So to inspire people or listeners to take a step that leads them to their soul. I think that's where I land with our pre-conversation. How does that feel?
That feels fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
welcome. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
I am too. I'm excited sometimes is overused.
That's fair.
I think, I would like to say I'm excited. And it's true, I'm excited, but I am also joyful.
Yeah.
Joyful.
I love that you use that word because I think often, as I'm having conversations with people, I think about inspiration and joy and enthusiasm and like spark of ignition of something that just really feels like I picture like skipping, just like something really fun and playful, and life doesn't always feel that way. And I know that. And it's lovely when we can have conversations that might inspire even a thought of it. Like, forget the step. Let's just begin with a thought and go from there.
Oh my gosh, I just landed all these goosebumps. And for me, that's always an indication of truth, wide and open. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she was having a rough time. And we were talking, and a little later on, after I listened to her, I mentioned, I woke up this morning and I actually danced to the coffee pot. Oh. I said, when was the last time you danced to the coffee pot?
That's amazing. So we haven't officially formally met. We met in an online event. That's how I know a little bit about you. I would love it if you would just give us a quick, it doesn't even have to be quick. You can give us the longest version you want. Preview of how you show up in the world, what you're passionate about, and like what inspired you to have this conversation today.
Wow. That can get to be pretty juicy.
I know. I'm in it. I'm in for all of that.
Well, just a little bit about my background. I'm a best-selling author. I'm an award-winning artist, and I am the founder of Abstract Intuitive Impressionism. It's a healing process that uses dance and meditation and journaling and throwing paint around and just having a good time. I guess my story begins when I was 6 years old. I was in a classroom and I was really excited because it was art day. And my grandmother had just given me a box of 16 Crayolas. And before that, we only had 8 colors, and now I had 16. We were told to paint or to draw a tree. I was so excited when I saw this purple color that I started drawing purple trees, just purple trees, little ones, big ones, purple trees all over the page. And the teacher came by and was holding up the drawings of the class and making comments. And when she hovered over me, and I use that word because later on it really felt kind of horrible, she picked up my page and said, "Oh my gosh, Deborah, there are no such things as purple trees." All that joy, all that excitement just drained from my body. And I remember my heart started racing and I just wanted to slink under the desk and out the door. I just felt horrible and I didn't know why. I had no words to describe the feeling that I had. And then I remember as I was walking home that I had previously folded that paper many, many, many times to where it was just a little bitty square, and I put it in my pocket. And when I was walking home and I put my hand in my pocket, I felt that paper, and I didn't even remember putting the purple crayon in my pocket, but there it was, and I grabbed a hold of it, and I broke it. I didn't even realize that I broke the crayon. And from that, as children, we don't have the words to describe what happens to us. We only have the feeling. And so somewhere along the line, I decided, okay, that's never going to happen again. I will be the best student. I will stay within the lines. I'll use the colors that everybody else uses. I won't open my mouth until I'm sure I have the right answer. So from an early age, dealing with the shame, I made a decision that I had to be perfect. Mm. And we all know what perfectionism is in our lives and how it affects us, because it's not really the truth. Perfectionism, we often think, is as being accomplished as being that, oh my God, if I'm perfect, my life will be good, and I won't ever have to feel bad things again. And what happened was, through that perfectionism, I just became an excellent student. I remember in elementary school, 5th grade, we had an assembly with the parents and the teachers and the entire school. And they gave, at that time, they were giving out little medals for excellence in certain studies. And I believe there were 7 of them, and I walked away with 5 of them. And as I walked off the stage, those medals were clinking on my chest. That's what I heard. I didn't hear the applause. I didn't hear the best wishes. And after I got off the stage, I kind of felt like, why don't I feel better? I'm supposed, if I did all the right things, why don't I feel good on the inside? Well, that should have been my first clue, but I didn't pay attention to it.
What?
Yeah.
I can't relate at all.
Oh gosh, And so later on, went on and got my PhD in counseling psychology and had a research I was working on for 2 years. And by the time I graduated, a year later, I was presenting my research paper in New York among peers. That was kind of scary in a way, getting up in front of thousands of peers and presenting my work. And the same thing happened. Believe it or not, I didn't feel fantastic after it. Even though folks were coming up and talking to me and asking questions, I actually had 3 job offers from that presentation, which I didn't accept any of them. And 2 of them were outside the country, and I wasn't ready to leave the U.S. at that moment. But that whole thing about not being good enough was always there, and the shame, and trying not to ever feel that again. And then I became successful in my business, and I was counseling folks, cancer patients. My mother had cancer, so I went through that with her, and then made a decision I was going to help cancer families as a unit. And then I used a lot of art in that process. And one day I realized, you know what? Why did I stop? Every once in a while, I'd pick up some paint and canvas and whatever and do something, but it never really amounted to anything. So a little later on, I developed cancer. And you can imagine, sitting in the doctor's waiting room, waiting to get that news of what's happening. And I remember I was sitting there, I was numb when he started talking to me and told me the diagnosis. I don't remember anything at that time of what he said. I had to read the report afterwards. I became very angry. I became, just livid and like, how can this happen to me? I've been doing everything right. What's wrong? Kind of thing. Well, I had the surgery, and during recovery, this little whisper happened and said, go paint, go paint. And I said, oh man, I have to get out of bed. I got to throw on some clothes. I have to go downstairs. I have to pull out all this stuff that I have locked away. I don't know if I have the energy. And the voice says, go paint. I said, okay. So I went downstairs and I pulled out a canvas and pulled out the paint, and I picked up the brush. The first color was black. Of course, I was angry. So I just started throwing paint and dabbing paint and scribbling paint, picked up red, picked up blue, yellow, green, and just slathered that canvas with all this emotion. And I stood back and, and I looked at it and I said, oh my goodness, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And then it dawned on me that all of my anger, all of my frustration, and all of the not feeling good enough, all of the asking why can't I feel joy, all came to a head at that moment. And so I realized that I was not expressing my true self, that I had created this mask of perfectionism, and it had interfered in every aspect of my life. I mean, there was not a thread of my life where it didn't affect me. Even though I accomplished a lot, I still wasn't happy. I didn't feel that joy inside until I started painting. And as I continued to paint, I realized through that recovery period that a process developed and that's what I call the abstract intuitive impressionism process. And during that process, I was also got this little whisper that said, this is not just for you. You need to get out and help other folks or facilitate this process with other folks. So I started doing that. And that's where I tell you the joy that comes from seeing other people light up. That is fabulous. I mean, I say fabulous. I can say fantabulous. I could use all kinds of words, but it doesn't cover that feeling, that exaltation, that, oh gosh, I am home and I'm helping other people go home. This is fabulous. So from working with those people, then I developed a workshop for women. That's 4 days and 3 nights, and it's called Revelare, which is Latin for the Great Reveal. And so that's it in a nutshell. What would you like to dive into next?
Well, I think there were so many little nuggets in there that resonated with me personally so deeply. I'm curious, did you stop painting altogether when you were 6? And then, like, how long was it before you picked up, your creativity again? Was it really the gap from when you heard the voice to say, go paint?
When I had the voice to say, go paint, that's when the healing began with me. And that's where I would say the journey in my life that I wish I would have known about 20 years earlier. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. There's no such thing as purple trees, because it's that kind of a book that I wish somebody would have given me when I was 20 or when I was 40.
Yeah.
Because it's my story, but it's also about the process, and it's the invitation for folks to start listening to those whispers.
Yeah. The other thing I love about the language you use around painting. When you say throw paint, I'm like, that removes because I'm a recovering perfectionist. That's what I mean, I joke about that. I mean, but I think my perfectionism sneaks up on me sometimes. And I just get to say hello again and remind myself that that's not where I'm living anymore. But when you say throw paint, I'm like, oh, that feels so free. It doesn't feel like I could even tuck into my perfectionism if I try. Because if I'm throwing paint, that's a little more random and a little more open. And it just, to me personally, I don't know how it feels to everyone else, but when you said throw paint, you said it right out of the gate, really early. And when you were telling your story, and I just thought, what a beautiful representation of non-attachment and just playfulness, and that experience. It's experiential instead of like authoritative, I guess maybe is a way to say it. I don't know, but that was such a powerful phrase for me personally. The other thing that I really resonated with, and I'm wondering if we could dive into this, or maybe there's really nowhere more to go with it, but I feel like there's something here. There's like a nugget. When you said your teacher told you there was no such thing as purple tree, she told you were doing your process wrong. I've had those experiences as well, where I've been in classes and the instructor says, basically, I mean, in so many words, the way I take it in my energy is you did it wrong. But then, I mean, and in that moment, it sucked the life out of me. It gave me guilt and made me feel like I could never do anything right. But upon reflection and hindsight, I look and I realize, how can I possibly do it wrong if I'm doing it my way? Like, it's mine, it's not yours. That's why it feels wrong. And so I just feel like there's maybe a more of a conversation that we could have around really, I don't know, the empowerment of understanding that if you're in joy in a process, that is your soul speaking to you, and no one can, I mean, they can tell you you're doing it wrong. But if you really get into the experience, like I've just gotten to a place where it's like, this is mine. I can tell because I'm lit up from the inside out. And somebody can try and steal that from me, but I'm like in it. Like, I don't even hear those voices anymore. You know, it's just like, no, I'm doing me. And that feels really good. I didn't used to. Do you have layers to add to that? Because that was a really powerful, I mean, when you said, because you were describing you being in this joyful experience, and then instantaneously one statement took that away.
Right. I'm full of goosebumps again.
I get goosebumps too. I have that language as well. It's a beautiful thing.
I love it. I love it. And yes, you are so right. And I've had folks come to me and say, how can you tell people throw out the rules and just play, throw paint, dab paint, smear paint, use your fingers, get into it. You don't like that color, pick up another color. How, what are you doing? Aren't you destroying the whole thing about the idea of art is beautiful and, this kind of thing? And I say, okay, you talk to any true artist and they will tell you, maybe they've been graduates, they've been to art school and spent 4, 6, 10 years in school, and they come out and they're painting, and they have done repetitive painting. And then when they allow themselves to play and say, I don't have to follow I know the rules. I know color, I know texture, I know hues, I know contrast, and I know placement and all these things. When you allow yourself to play, and it doesn't have to be art, it could be anything that you enjoy doing. When you allow that little person to come out and play, or that big person to come out and play, there's something that happens. It switches in the brain, and you're in that flow, and you start to create. And you might step back and say, oh my gosh, that looks a little messy. But my process, what I do, I just start putting paint all over the canvas. And then I step back and I look at it and I say, depends on my mood. I might say, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or I might say, what is it you want to tell me today? Or something like that. And then all of a sudden, it shows up on the canvas, and all I have to do is paint it. And the joy in that, the creativeness in that is an original piece of art. There is nothing else like it. It cannot be compared to anything else. It can't. And if you look at it that way, if it comes from you and it comes from your authentic self, your soul self, it is an original. Mm-hmm. There is no competition. It just eliminates all ideas of competition because you're doing what brings you joy and you're creating originals. Now, you could do that. You can do that with dance. You can do that with business. You know, you can apply it anywhere in your life with any kind of project. Yeah. And then if you want to go back to the rules, you can incorporate the rules.
Yeah. I always say, learn the rules, know the foundation, then play.
That's great.
Use the rules that fit for you, the rules that don't fit for you, toss them aside. Like it's not, I think sometimes we make things so rigid. I think a lot of what I heard and what you were saying, if I think about, you know, like art where you're drawing something specific or painting something specific or like looking for an end result, that's a very different experience than art as an experience. It's just an experience. And you get to be in that experience and see where you want to go next within that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I had a download, and I don't even know why I'm asking it or bringing it up, but it's a download. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to share it.
Yes.
I just think it's really interesting and curious that when you were told to paint, you mentioned a bunch of colors, but purple was not one of them.
Oh, the first time you mean? The first time I went down?
When you heard the voices and you talked about the black and the red, I mean, you named every color, but you didn't name purple. And purple was the color that you were using when the instructor told you no.
Right. Well, the reason I didn't use it is because I eliminated purple from my life.
I wondered about that.
You know, I didn't buy any clothes that had purple in it. Of course, it was a subconscious thing. It was a subconscious thing, and I would see purple, you know, lilacs, and I'd smell them and I'd go, oh, how lovely. But then move on and recognize the scent, but not necessarily the color. I would see displays like in stores that would have the color purple. And it was like, that kind of feels good, but it didn't connect. Yeah. So when I went down and threw those first colors, that was all my anger and my frustration coming out. Yeah. So the purple was still absent until I started to play and allow that to come out and recognize that my purple tree was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, that's so amazing.
That tree was like the giant oak trees. I know you're in Central Time. I don't know where you're from, but I'm originally from New Orleans, and the oak trees in New Orleans are huge, and they can sprawl out for hundreds of feet. And so that purple tree to me was everything it became the mask that I was wearing, and I was given the golden key when I started painting, and the key unlocked it all. So now I have a purple coffee cup, and I have purple clothes, and I paint with purple, and I kind of came in with with a ray. Most people come in with one ray. I came in with two, with pink and blue. And so that was pretty potent. And now I realized the pink and the blue, the whole idea was to bring those two colors together, and now it's purple.
Yeah.
In my own personal growth. So now I use that golden key and I live in that purple.
That's so amazing. I just think it's, I mean, I think a healing journey, right? I do healing, transformative work and with myself and others. And I find like something as simple as a color can have such a deep meaning within us that we avoid it at all costs because of one experience. And and so many times, like you said earlier, it's subconscious and we don't realize that that's there until we do. And then the beauty of changing the relationship with it and understanding what it really is to you. Like, what is it to your soul? And what's the meaning of that? And right. I just think that's so beautiful.
Right. And that's, like I said, now I'm on a mission. I want to help facilitate other folks find that as well.
Yeah. Will you tell me a little bit more about your method?
The retreat?
The retreat or the AIIP, I think was the letters I pulled out of it. I can't remember the words. Artistic.
Abstract Intuitive Impressionism.
That's it. Sorry. I was like, my brain is not all the way locked into, I was like, I know it was AII. I feel like there was a P in there. All right. Because I'm just curious about that. It sounds inviting.
Well, the name just like when I was doing it, I didn't have a name. I didn't think it was a process. I thought it was just for myself and my own healing. And as I progressed with the painting, and when I was told, hey, you need to share this with the world, and it was like, okay, so what do I call it? Does it have a name? And that's what came to me, Abstract Intuitive Impressionism, because it is a process of release. It's a process of joy. It's a process of leading to deeper levels within yourself. And soul doesn't speak in certainties or absolute. I love that. Oh gosh, now I'm full of goosebumps again.
Me too.
When the soul speaks, it could be gentle or it could be loud and blaring and bold and whatever. And so with the process, with some people have never ever picked up a brush before. And so the whole thing is like, for me personally, where I am now, I meditate in the morning, or I dance, or I put on music when I'm in the studio and there's a blank canvas. And I get into that free flow. I connect with my intuitive, my soulful. I like the word soulful because that's what I believe it is. You can call it whatever you want. And I just pick up paint and I start painting on the canvas. I just fill the whole canvas. And then I step back and, like I said, I ask, what do you want to show me today? Or what do I need to learn today? Or what beauty can we create today? So it's very much in setting that intention that this time is sacred and this is a time for full creation, just full-blown creation, whatever that happens to be. And then step back again and look at it, and then go back, put in some more layers, step back again, and pretty soon it all starts to come together where you can see all the rules coming together.
Yeah, right.
And then you just finish the painting and, voila. And you may leave it set. I like to put the paintings up on the wall so that when I go by, I can look at it and see what else. Do I need to add something? Do I need to take away something and go back to it? The thing of it is, artists never feel that their paintings are complete. They always feel like you could do something else. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you create mud. So it's
that's just so beautiful. I mean, when you say artists feel like a painting is never complete, I feel the same way about the healing journey. I often will say we're always whole and never healed. There's always more for our soul to evolve, to see, to feel, to do, to experience. I mean, words are hard with the soul, right? Because for me, it's like words are limited and the soul is limitless. And so it's hard to even speak about it. But what you described in a painting about how it's never done because there's a million ways it could go and they're all beautiful. It's like
right.
So amazing.
It's like, oh my gosh, why did I put that turquoise there?
Yeah.
And then later on it's gone, oh, that's why,
I want to make sure people know how to find you and your book. There Are No Purple Trees. That's the name. Is that the title of the book?
There is no such thing as purple trees.
There you go.
It's
there
the
is
title
no
of
such
the
thing
book.
as purple trees. Okay.
And I have a link tree that has all of my links on it. And that.
Oh, beautiful. I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but you can speak it out loud as well if you want to say
it.
Okay,
so it's HTTPS, //links.thepurpletrees.com.
Oh, that's amazing. And so you have like your access to your retreats are there, access to your program is there, access to
my
the book
email.
Is there. It's all there.
My
Beautiful.
Email, the book, all my social media. And I really encourage people to email me. I love to hear your stories.
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear the stories, and I answer all my emails. So I would encourage people to do that. And if I may, I'd like to offer to the folks listening that if you email me, I will send you a digital copy of the Purple Tree Resources Kit.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. I love it. I love the invitation for connection within that too, right? I think so many, I don't know, just in conversations, I feel like people are missing connection and community, but they're finding hard time doing it. And just the invitation to send an email, it's like, it's such a beautiful thing. And it's like, oh yeah, I could just send an email. Why don't I do that? Like, because I also answer my emails and, I don't answer spam stuff. I'll say that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do answer genuine emails. And I used to, I don't know, I feel like I used to have some judgment around like the digital and techie ways of connecting. And I've opened and embraced all of it now because I just think, is there really a bad way to connect if it's a heartfelt, soul-led intention of a connection? I just don't think there is. I like this conversation is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I'm wondering, I feel like this is a good place to wrap up, but then I want to give you an invitation for a part 2 where we more mindfully choose really like what we want to really zone in on and have another conversation about. Because I love all the topics we discussed today. And I feel like if we dive into them, we're going to be here for 2 hours. So I love the idea of like wrapping this up in a beautiful invitation for exploration with anything else you feel like you want to guide within that. And then also doing a part 2 anytime, if you're open and willing.
I would like to mention one other major experience with perfectionism.
Yes, please.
And it has to do with relationships.
Mm.
So from my experience, I'll talk from my experience, that because of perfectionism and because of not wanting to be hurt and putting on this mask, the mask then starts to dictate the life. And so what I found in my life is the same thing I found with other areas in my life. I was married 3 times and they didn't last very long. And it was like, how can I love so deeply and feel so deeply and want to bring in all this beauty and creation into my relationship, and it's not allowed. It's not allowed. And so when I started diving into that, I realized that all my partners were in love with the mask. Oh. They weren't in love with my true self. So the reason I never felt loved was because I never showed up.
You never revealed anything behind the mask. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a relationship wearing the mask, that's that's your limitations. You can't go outside of the mask because it disturbs the agreement.
Right.
And so in discovering that was such a relief and made me healthier in all aspects, because I realized that I have to show up for who I am and not what other people expect me to be, or anything, or any kind of contracts that I made wearing the mask, because now that doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's a lot of energy to keep those masks up too.
Ooh.
Like that takes so much effort.
Yes, indeed.
I didn't realize that until I did. And then I couldn't unsee it. And then it was like, oh, well, no wonder I feel tired all the time, or no wonder I'm crabby a lot, or no wonder I'm so angry, or no wonder, like there were just so many, it made a lot of things make a lot of sense. And then to mindfully choose how to show up with the masks. There's a difference between a mask and like a boundary, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
What a beautiful, like you just described that so beautifully. And I've never really thought about it in that way before, that like the people, I mean, people in my life who have fallen away or created space, or mindfully, we've chosen to walk away from each other, right? No matter how that played out. How was I showing up, and how many masks was I hiding behind? And of course I wouldn't feel lovable or loved or appreciated or supported, and I wouldn't be able to give that either. Not at the level, not if it's not coming from me, then it doesn't feel authentic or genuine either. You know, like what you're putting out is also filtered through a mask that isn't you, that then means the energy is harder to receive.
Right. You're talking, we're talking about energy. We are energetic. Energetics. We are. And if you look at science is trying to catch up with us with quantum physics, the discovery of quantum entanglement, that kind of is helping folks to understand a little bit about what's happening. Because if we're vibrating at a certain frequency in our whole being, if we're not aware, it's the mask, it's a mix mash. And so you go out in the world and you're vibrating at that frequency, and you can only, if I use the word attract or entangle with that energy, because nothing else is allowed.
Yeah.
And so all the contracts that we make through that energy is going to come back to us until we start changing the energy. And the way we change the energetics is, we're not broken and we don't need to be fixed. I mean, 100%. That is a biggie. That's a biggie. We only have to realize who we are and come home.
Yeah. You say that like it's easy. We all know it's not easy, or you and I know it's not easy. I'll say that.
Well, it's taken me a long time. And I'm still doing.
Me too.
I know that, like, how many teachers, how many masters have said it over and over and over and over again. They say the same thing. They never say it's easy. They just say, do it.
Right. That's it. Oh, that's amazing.
So the other thing I'd like to say is, in our lives, when we come across situations where we feel uncomfortable, or if we're given an opportunity to move beyond that mask or that energetics, we need to say yes. Even though it feels uncomfortable, say yes. If I would have never listened to that voice that said, go paint, I probably would have created the cancer all over again, because of all of the stuff of not being who I am today. And saying yes one time will open floodgates. I'll give you an example of saying yes to do a workshop, being in a, not a hot seat, but a love seat, and being seen and being recognized and being encouraged to do something. And then you do it, even though you're scared to death. Well, shouldn't use that expression. Even though you don't feel comfortable doing it, then you do it. Okay, here's the book. Okay, Here's the process. Okay. Here's the workshops. Okay. You grow your social media. Wow. You have more interactions. You're invited. Uh, I'm showing my art in 4 different places right now. Manhattan, New York gallery, online gallery showing my work. I've been featured in an article for artists. I mean, all it takes is one yes.
Mm.
Then the next opportunity, even if it's a little scary, it's another yes and another yes and another yes. So we all have to say yes.
Especially when you feel that little tingle from your soul, where it's like you don't really, you can't even necessarily explain why you're feeling called to say yes. You're resisting it. You don't know why that's happening either necessarily. That to me feels like what you're describing, those moments where it's like there's a yes within you and then there's resistance within that. And then there's not necessarily like wisdom around it yet. But that yes takes you to the wisdom.
So it's like the soul says yes. The mask says, hold on, is it safe?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
what are we going to change within this?
Yeah. So you tell the mask, or, like for me, it was that little 6-year-old. I had to go back and I created this huge rocking chair, and I picked up that little 6-year-old and I put her on my lap and I rocked her. And I told her, you did everything right. You really did. And you've been so busy taking care of me for so long. And I appreciate that. However, now, where I am now, I realize I'm taking care of you from now on.
Yeah.
So you can recover and heal, and we find peace. I'm not going to hide you. I accept you fully. And you can show up and we can have a conversation. And that was an experience. And I've used that with other folks, and you could see lives change right. You talk about quantum collapse, it happens right there. Because, love and hate and all the dualities are 2 sides of the same coin. Mm-hmm. So you don't cut one off for the other one. You integrate it.
Yeah.
You accept it.
Yeah. Inner child work is ridiculously powerful. It's amazing. And part of me wonders if every mask isn't created through an inner little that is an inner child that's just needed protection in something.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I appreciate so much the time that we got to share together today, and the wisdom that you share through lived experience. That's also my favorite. I love the lived experience stories. For some reason, for me, that has more meaning, and I can't explain why. I just think there's something about someone who's willing to, be in conversation and share their truth that is really powerful and really beautiful, and on somehow, some way more connecting, and might point back to that mask thing that you were talking about. I just feel more like there was a genuine connection and energy exchange that was reciprocal that happens when we choose to show up and share our experiences in the way that you just did today. And it warms my heart. It makes me smile. I do have that gleeful, joyful experience internally when conversations like this happen. So I want to explore your LinkedIn. I don't know. I'm from Minnesota. I don't know where your retreats are, but I'm intrigued, and I love people who speak the soul, I guess, or maybe it's just live from the soul is maybe
just live that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a have to, it's not forced. It just happens.
Yeah.
It's like natural. It's like when you see a couple of kids on the playground, and if they're in conversation, they don't sit there, Pat, and say, yeah, well, I was out playing with the dog and I threw the bone and he got it and he brought it back to me. It's not like that. What they do is, if you watch them, they go, Oh my gosh, I was out playing with the dog today and, in the field, and he was hopping, and all I could see was his ears flopping because the grass was so tall. And he found the bone and he brought it back. I mean, it's just natural.
Yeah.
Natural.
And there's passion behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's palpable even on a mic. Like what you just said before versus how you said it now. Like our listeners will hear that. They will hear the difference in the energy and the feeling behind it.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that you can have a conversation on a mic and understand the difference of those two things without you ever seeing a video. You know what I mean? I just think that's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Energy flows and it shows.
You can't hide it. I mean, those masks will hide it for a little while, but that's not sustainable. What else do you have? You have another little thing you want to share before we wrap up and call it a good podcast, a great podcast, an exceptional podcast?
Well, I think as you get to know me, I could probably go on and talk forever. However, I want to let you know I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you and your listeners. And my wish would be that there was some sparks ignited, and that as more sparks are ignited, we become very powerful within our own lives. So thank you again for inviting me here today.
Thank you. This was amazing. I appreciate you. I will put your link in the show notes, so make sure you check for that if you are a listener who wants to send Deborah an email or reach out or find more information about her. But we appreciate you spending time with us today, and I think we're good to go for today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.